How to spot the fool. It is actually rather apt that this item dropped on April's Fool's Day, because anyone that thinks this thing is good is a fool. We are, of course, talking about the new named knees from Seska, called Turmoil. They come with the talent Bewildered. When dealing weapon damage to an enemy, 50% of the damage will be dealt to another enemy within 30 meters. When there are no enemies nearby, deal damage normally. However, this does not apply to armor plates, which is probably a good thing, otherwise you could just sit there and just pummel into a chunga. Or at least you'd think that. The problem is, they're terrible. And they're terrible for so many damn reasons that it's unreal. For a start, it actively nerfs your single target damage. One of the main reasons we don't like Negotiators as a whole is it struggles with single target damage. Its whole premise, its whole set is built around sharing damage, and it's not like that's particularly good. It is better now that Negotiators has had one hell of a buff, but it's still not really a set that everyone likes to use. Don't get me wrong, having that entire set literally just bundled into one item isn't the worst thing, but it just means that you now struggle even more with single target damage. So no, they're not good, mostly just for that. And even then, Negotiators does 100% of its damage to a single target, and if you have an enemy tagged, they will take 100% of your, 110% rather, of your crit. So now you have kind of single target damage, but going in two separate directions. This is actively splitting your damage in half, which is horrific. It also has the lovely bonus of, on occasion, well, I say on occasion, if there is nothing visibly in front of you within that 30-meter range, it will try and find something else within a 30-meter range, which often aggroes something else away from what it is you're doing, and the end result is you see more action than Mia Khalifa. Now, immediately I've heard people say that this helps with stacking mechanics. It actively doesn't. It takes a while to show, but we have Hunter's Fury on here, which is an on-kill stacking mechanic, and we're going to be killing the target on the immediate on the left, who just died, and we didn't get a single stack for Hunter's Fury, so it's not applying on-kill stacks. That's what it looks like when you get an on-kill stack with Hunter's Fury, the little bar at the bottom below the Hunter's Fury icon on your UI. It doesn't affect Obliterate, it doesn't affect Strikers, it doesn't affect Heartbreaker. It basically doesn't affect any form of actual stacking mechanic in the game, although weirdly it does proc Preservation, but not Killer, as well as Armor on Kill, which is kind of strange. So what I'm going to be doing now is using 4-piece Strikers with the new knees. 4-piece Strikers with the chest and backpack, that's 200 stacks, 50 round magazine. That means it's going to take over, because stack decay as well as like reload, etc., should mean that it's going to take just over 4 magazines to fully stack. We've put the target so that it doesn't die, so that's not going to be wasting time. We're just going to put X amount of magazines into this. Now, if it was double stacking due to these knees, it would have been over and done by now, because we're on our 4th mag starting now. As you can see, we've still got a little bit to go, just because stack decay as well as reloads, etc. So it's not stacking on Strikers. Now I am running Gunner with a FAMAS with Preservation, just to show off the armor on kill and the fact that Preservation seems to be working with it. So we have targets on the left hand side of the room that are already dying, which you can see me getting armor on kill from Gunner specialization, those massive jumps in the armor, and then it ticking up over time is Preservation kicking in. So both Preservation and Gunner are working specifically with getting kills through the use of Turmoil, and I've taken the AR with Preservation off now, and we're just going to do essentially just the base armor on kill from utilizing Gunner. We're going to put this on Invulnerables. We're only going to be getting affected by the kills on the left hand side, so it's not to be getting confused with any damage that I'm doing directly in front. As you can see, I am regenerating armor like near enough immediately, and once they all start to die, you do get a healthy amount of armor back to you. So there is kind of that, but realistically, that's all these knees actually have. Now, if you really do want to use these knees for something, then I'm afraid to say your best bet, just to keep your single target damage at a respectable level, is 1, Strikers, 2, Chameleon. Oh my god, Chameleon. Again, stop it, Chameleon. Like, no one likes you. I'm joking, we all love you. The main reason for this is that having both Strikers and Chameleon within this stacking mechanic, your damage will start very low, but once you actually start building the buff up for Chameleon as well as Strikers, you can actually start doing some pretty decent single target damage. And considering this is sharing your damage, yeah, you actually do end up being able to do some pretty interesting-ish things with it. Again, though, you're still going to have the problem of aggroing random things around the map, just because if there is something within a 30-meter radius of you that you might not know is there, they'll know you're there because they'll take damage. And that's basically how the entire story of this item is going to go. Now, there is the next thing, which is Negotiators. And please, for the love of God, I tested it, so you don't have to. Don't do it. These are so bad on Negotiators. It's unreal how bad they are. And it's mostly just because of how Negotiators on kill talent works. Every time you get a kill, you get 2% critical hit damage, stacks up to 20 times. That kill can only come from either the direct target that you are killing or an enemy that is marked. And that kill also has to come from the crit transfer. So if something dies, even though it might be marked through Turmoil, with Negotiators, you get nothing. Absolutely nothing. And because you don't control where that damage goes from Turmoil, all you're going to be doing is giving yourself a headache and wondering why you're not getting Negotiator stacks. It's because you've got Turmoil on. Just don't do it. Bad idea. In fact, the only good thing to come out of this item is I guarantee someone is going to post this build, Strager, 4-piece Negotiators, and then utilising Turmoil, thinking it's going to be some sort of great way to share a bunch of damage. But as we've already discussed, Strager doesn't work with Negotiators because Negotiators doesn't activate Strager, and Strager doesn't activate Negotiators. And this is also the same for Turmoil, which basically means Strager, Negotiators, and Turmoil are 3 of the worst things you can actively put together. They do not complement each other at all. If anything, they hinder how each individual thing works. But I can guarantee you one of the usual suspects is going to put out a video claiming that that build is like the new meta, and it's not. So if you see someone do that, I recommend you click away immediately because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about, which is going to be so much fun. I can't wait. Can't wait. And that was a perfect example of single target damage fucking you over. Normally that dude would have died like 4 times, but it took so damn long. Yeah, it's unreal how much these actively nerf your overall capability and your overall build just for you to share some damage, which is utterly useless, to be perfectly honest. However, there is one area where these actually are pretty good to okay, and although still technically problematic, it does work better depending on how you wish to play. And this is mostly just down to a certain chest talent that allows you to do absolutely crazy levels of damage without having to worry too much about anything else actually going on. And of course, what we're talking about here is Headhunter builds. Yay! Just because Headhunter exists, these actually become quite funny. I would recommend using Nemesis with these because of where it does split your damage. So the lower end of your damage without stacks is going to be horrific. It's actually pretty damn horrific. However, with something like Nemesis, you can still get up to like 40 mil a shot at the top end. And it also means that even at the bottom end, you can still one-shot like elite snipers, elite shotgunners, reds, and sometimes even purples, depending on their archetype or veterancy. And essentially what this literally does turn into is 2 birds, 1 stone. You fire 1 bullet and you kill 2 targets, which is kind of fun if you can snipe. I imagine people are still going to try and go for like the determined route. Determined is horrible. You're a cheater. How dare you? But again, that is a viable option. I would still suggest utilizing Nemesis because it is just so much more damage, and having your damage split in half is kind of an issue overall. But yeah, that's basically it. Turmoil. Nowhere near as good as a lot of people are probably going to be saying it is, because it is pretty bad. They don't really lend anything to any build. If anything, they're like a direct nerf to like the vast majority of builds. The only builds that can probably make actual good use of them are going to be Headhunter builds, but then you're still going to be losing out on over half your damage effectively because of how the actual item works. Not to mention the fact that it's on Cheska, which is a crit piece, so enjoy that. Anyway, that's all I've got. Have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the health.